so innovative, and there's really nothing else like this on the marketplace. That you're kind of looking at the formulation and maybe looking at some of the competitor products. So, truly in the area of innovation, that's what we focused a lot of effort in this product. So it's called A.R.M, Anabolic Recovery Matrix, and kind of characterize this as the complete post-exercise muscle hydration recovery form innovation, with the emphasis on hydration. I'm sure you've heard us many times, Joe, talking about, the benefit of hydration, proteins and hydration. So, it's really important that this, part of it is included. Basically, just to give you the big picture of the product, we really looked at the what goes on in recovery and post-exercise. And since we have a great pre-exercise product, full-blown extreme, really tried to come out with the ultimate post-exercise product, and hopefully we hit it, with this product. So looking at, really what the body needs after exercise, and primarily there are three critical requirements for optimal recovery, and this is in the second paragraph of the PDS. First is the replacement of fluid and electrolytes. So following exercise, refueling the muscle and hydrating the muscle is critical, along with the key electrolytes. Secondly would be the rapid replenishment of glycogen, which is the carbohydrate that's stored in the muscle, to get that resynthesized for recovery. This is critical because glycogen can be depleted and many times is depleted during exercise. And to get that glycogen carbohydrate resynthesized and repacked into the muscle. This would also prevent further inflammation and pain, kind of that post-exercise phenomenon. There's a lot of studies looking at DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, and all the intracellular mechanisms in terms of what causes that. And clearly, refueling the muscle with glycogen is critical to prevent some of those symptoms, the pain, the fatigue, the soreness, the inflammation, things like that. And lastly, the replacement of amino acids and nitrogen for the muscle rebuilding process that occurs, following exercise in a short-term window and then throughout the day or throughout the evening. So it's critical, if you really want to develop a product that's going to be effective for recovery, it has to include fluids, it has to include all the electrolytes, it has to include glycogen, carbohydrate, and protein, and some other factors. Now, to further focus on what's going on, the science over the past number of years that I've been, reviewing and attending, like the ISSN, looking at some key enzyme systems in the muscles. And I don't know if you've heard of these, but you will. And hopefully find these pretty interesting and fascinating, but they are these kinase systems. One area is called this AKT mTOR. Another name for mTOR is called rapamycin, which is a protein kinase. It's an enzyme involved with protein synthesis, and it also stimulates this mRNA, this messenger RNA called P70 ribosomal S6 kinase. Now, why these are so important? Because this really drills down to the molecular level in terms of protein synthesis. When you activate and upregulate these enzyme systems, it's anabolic. It kind of gets to the essence of, I want to increase protein, I want to increase muscle mass, hypertrophy, things like that. But, now the science is so sophisticated, even at the molecular level, looking at even upregulating certain genes. So, it's fascinating to kind of look at, this is really going to activate and upregulate these gene and enzyme systems for anabolism and protein synthesis. And actually looking at the area on what stimulates this AKT mTOR and P60, and it's in one of the activator blends, primarily leucine, and, we've added our Cx3 blend. It's many, actually, formulas within a formula in a complete blend. Another very exciting area are called heat shock proteins, and HSPs. You may have seen these on other products. These are molecular chaperones that actually aid in the transport of proteins within the cell into cellular compartments for protein synthesis. So these are like chaperones that actually escort amino acids and intracellular protein components for anabolic and protein synthetic pathways on the ribosome and things like that. What's fascinating about heat shock proteins, or these chaperones, is that they stabilize proteins. There can be alterations in pH during exercise. The muscle becomes very acidic. We've addressed this in looking at the science behind extinguisher and the buffering effect of beta-alanine, but this will also be a factor here during high-intensity exercise. You're looking at oxygen deprivation and stress. And left uncorrected, the proteins will misfold. They do not fold properly and form aggregates that may actually kill muscle cells. So heat shock proteins are really critical at the cellular level to make sure that the proteins are folded correctly and that they don't do anything negative to the protein cells. And we put together a blend. Again, these are all science-based, and you can look at all the key references. This is not smoke and mirrors, and this is not hype. This is really true science that we've been able to look at and find to support these different pathways. And clearly, heat shock protein support and activation in the blend, looking at glutamine and the glutamine peptides, bilberry, schizandra, rhodiola, and peonia. There are studies, there's very interesting and elegant studies showing that. The other main blend in this is the Glute 4 activator, and Glute 4, this stands for glucose transporter 4. It's an insulin-regulated transporter. It's protein found on the cell membrane, and this really activates and forces and drives very quickly carbohydrates into the cell, to stimulate protein synthesis. And it's a fascinating transporter, and we put in compounds, primarily banaba leaf, and this is standardized to contain 1% cortisolic acid. So it's a very 1% cortisolic acid in the standardization, and also promelin, which is a fenugreek extract, and this is a patented ingredient that specifically contains this 4-hydroxyisoleucine. There are other fenugreek extracts, like the one we have, with testofen, but this is not standardized to this 4-hydroxyisoleucine, which is critical to stimulate this. So what we have here is a very interesting product that has ingredients that stimulate heat shock proteins, this AKT mTOR, and the kinase systems, and along with the Glute 4 activator blend, along with the hydration, which of course mixing in water, and a complete electrolyte blend. Now the electrolytes are sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium, and chloride. And, we do have a complete electrolyte blend in the product, which is very important. So what we've done, from the science and what the muscle needs post-exercise and recovery, and looking at even at the gene and enzyme level to activate these to really get the maximum tools in the muscle, delivering them and assisting them to get into the muscle cell for maximum protein synthesis and anabolism and recovery. So it's a very interesting scientific product. When you look at the macronutrients in terms of the carbohydrates, we have 32 grams per serving, and we have multi-source carbohydrates, which is consistent to our philosophy. We've added the waxy maize or amylopectin, and we've added maltodextrin, and we've added fructose and dextrose. So really kind of a multi-source based on the ACM philosophy in terms of replenishing carbohydrates in kind of from the high molecular weight all the way to the lower molecular weight carbohydrates. In terms of the protein, again, we've added the WPC and WPI, so kind of a blending of those two carbohydrates. The WPI will, process a little quicker, but, because of taste profile and the benefits of the WPC, adding that into the protein part, which provides 28 grams of protein per serving, which is 56% daily value. You can see, I'm going over the supplement facts panel briefly here, you see a kind of complete profile of the B complex, which are cofactors in biochemistry, and providing at least 100% daily value of those, and some of the key minerals and electrolytes like calcium, phosphorus, of course magnesium. Now the magnesium chelate glycinate is this patented chelate from albumin, and another patented ingredient that is a chelate between magnesium and glycine, a very, very efficient form of magnesium, which personally, magnesium is one of the most fascinating and interesting trace minerals in sports nutrition and also in anabolism, because it's involved in so many key enzymatic reactions in the synthesis of all biochemical constituents, along with copper, manganese, chromium to kind of further stimulate the Glute-4 activator, and chloride. Looking at the blends, the A.R.M. heat shock protein, we primarily have added the Glutamatrix, the tripeptide of the glutamine peptides that you find in the Glutamatrix. So we essentially have a Glutamatrix product in A.R.M. And also the research on bilberry, which you can see is an extract that's standardized to 5% anthocyanosides. We have schizandra, which is standard. It's a berry, which is standardized to 2% schizandrins. Rhodiola, which contains 3% total rosavins and a minimum of 1% saladronicides, and the peona root, which contains 10% peonaflorins. Now, why this is included in the label is to give the consumer the understanding that these are highly standardized compounds. We don't just add powders, which the consumer would not know the value and the benefit. And of course, these herbs are far more expensive than just putting in an extract without the information on the standardization. So, we do disclose this in our formulation so that you and your customers really understand the level of quality and also purity in these herbs, this area of standardization that we've talked about in previous calls, to actually indicate what these are standardized to in terms of the bioactive constituents. So very important to provide this for your customers. In the mTOR blend, we have leucine, which is probably the most fascinating amino acid in the group of the branch chain. You can see a complete BCAA complex with citrulline, and we've also added the Cx3 blend in the formula. So you do have Cx3 in this formula, the CreaPure, the Creatine MagnaPower, and also the Creatine Pyruvate. And lastly, in the Glute-4, the banana leaf, which is standardized to contain 1% cortisolic acid, as I mentioned, and the promolant. So these herbs, these primarily herbs and amino acids, have been shown in the research to actually stimulate these three key areas of protein synthesis. So really put together in my opinion, just a super cool scientific product that really gets down to the essence of science in terms of recovery. Being the authority of sports nutrition, we're really talking now at the gene level in terms of this. So very interesting formula. And let me just give you, I know some of you may have been using some other products that are kind of similar to this, and let me just just to try to give you the appreciation of how advanced this product is. There is a product out there that is called Afterglow, and it's been kind of popular. But when you really look at a comparison of A.R.M. to a product like Afterglow, it's pretty much day and night in terms of what you're getting in terms of value in A.R.M. as compared to another competitor's product. So, for example, in A.R.M., in terms of the protein content, you actually get 40% more protein per serving than a product like Afterglow, comparing the 20 grams to 28 grams. So you're getting a lot more protein, plus you're getting kind of a combination of proteins, not just the WPI, but also getting the WPC. In terms of carbohydrates, even though the same number of grams per serving, A.R.M. has 59% sugars, but in a product like Afterglow, you've got 81% of the carbohydrate coming from sugar, and they're using a sugar called, evaporated cane juice, which is just a fancy name for sucrose, which is just table sugar. So it's obviously very cheap, very sweet, but a product like that is primarily just giving you a bunch of sugar. 81% of the carbohydrate is sugar. In terms of creatine, we're giving you a 50% higher concentration of creatine, 1,500 milligrams in the A.R.M. complex compared to the 1,000 milligrams. So you're getting 50% more creatine. You're getting 82% higher levels of leucine in the BCAA complex that you find in A.R.M. Some of the ingredients, which is very interesting, are, would not be standardized, in the product like Afterglow. On their label, they just list pomegranate powder, and nobody knows, what type of standardization that may be. Pomegranate is a very interesting ingredient, and, it's primarily an antioxidant, but nobody knows if it's standardized to polyphenols or ellagic acid or punicalagin. So, just kind of throwing in a little powder there, which can be pretty cheap, or a grapeseed extract, no information on standardization. The grapeseed extract that we would use in a formula would be a highly standardized polyphenol, up to 90% polyphenols. And they list, Cissus quadrangularis. I have no idea why that would be in a recovery product, because that's primarily a weight loss ingredient, and a little bit of phosphatidylserine. Again, no real scientific rationale. So, just kind of giving you an idea of a comparison to a product, that may be in the same category, and no heat shock protein supporters, no Glute 4 activators, and things like that really, kind of sets A.R.M. apart. So, hopefully, the science is interesting to you, and, we try to put together great science, great taste into a product that really is functionally, will functionally work in terms of maximizing anabolism, recovery, and, hopefully it's well received, and, you enjoy that. There's no gluten in the product. It's, the serving information, 2 scoops of 64 grams. You can kind of mix it up. It's a pretty much kitchen sink, all-encompassing product. There's really nothing that you need to add to the product. It's really the complete post-exercise formulation. So, we hope everyone enjoys it and it does well in the marketplace.